In 1917, hundreds of young women across America dreamed of getting a job at the United States Radium Corporation. The pay was excellent, the work was clean, and everyone said it was completely safe. Their job seemed simple. Using tiny brushes, they painted glowing numbers onto watch dials that would shine in the dark. To keep the brush sharp, supervisors taught them one technique. Dip the brush, paint the number, then shape the tip with their lips. Again, and again, and again. The glowing paint entered their mouths dozens of times every single day. The women trusted the company. After all, their managers insisted there was nothing to fear. Some workers even painted their fingernails, teeth, and dresses before going out at night, laughing as they glowed in the darkness. They thought they were wearing the newest fashion. They had no idea that every brushstroke was slowly poisoning their bodies. For many young women, this was one of the best jobs they had ever found. The factory was bright, the hours were reasonable, and the pay was far better than most other work available at the time. Every day, thousands of watch dials passed through their hands. The glowing paint covered their fingers and clothes. Soon, the women began treating it like a game. Before leaving work, some brushed the glowing paint onto their nails. Others painted tiny lines on their dresses. A few even smiled as they carefully touched the paint to their teeth. At night, they laughed as their bodies glowed in the darkness. Friends admired the strange effect. No one warned them to stop. The company continued telling every worker the same thing. The paint was harmless. There was absolutely nothing to worry about. The women believed every word. None of them realized the danger had already entered their bodies. Months passed. For many of the women, life seemed completely normal. Then, small problems began to appear. One worker complained about a toothache. Another noticed pain in her jaw. At first, no one connected the symptoms to the glowing paint. The company insisted the factory was perfectly safe. Doctors searched for ordinary explanations, but the pain grew worse. Healthy teeth suddenly became loose. Some women returned to the dentist again and again. Each visit ended the same way. Another tooth was removed, then another. Soon, several workers noticed they were suffering from the same mysterious illness. The strange pain was no longer an accident. It was happening again and again, and no one understood why. The women still went to work every morning. They still shaped their brushes with their lips, completely unaware that the real nightmare had only just begun. As more workers became seriously ill, questions began to spread through the factory. Why were so many young women suffering from the same mysterious disease? The company refused to blame the glowing paint. Instead, managers insisted the illnesses had nothing to do with the factory. But behind closed doors, the situation looked very different. Scientists handling radium wore protective clothing. They used special tools to avoid touching the material. The women painting the watch dials received no such protection. Every day, they were still told to shape their brushes with their lips. Many trusted the company without question. After all, why would anyone lie about something so dangerous? By the time the truth began to emerge, it was already too late for many of the workers. The glowing paint that had promised a brighter future had quietly become a deadly poison. By the early 1920s, the truth could no longer be hidden. More and more former workers were becoming seriously ill. Some were too weak to return to work. Others spent years searching for doctors who could explain what was happening. Many families believed the factory was responsible. The company denied every accusation. Its lawyers argued there was no proof that radium had caused the illnesses. The women were called unreliable. Some were even accused of inventing their symptoms, but they refused to remain silent. Despite constant pain, several former workers decided to fight back. They brought their case to court. For the first time, one of America's most powerful companies was forced to answer difficult questions. The trial quickly became national news. People across the country began asking the same question: if radium was truly safe, why were so many young women dying after working with it? The legal battle lasted for years. Many of the women were already too sick to appear in court without help. Some knew they might never live to see the final decision, but they continued anyway. As more evidence became public, it became impossible to ignore what had happened inside the factories. Scientists confirmed that radium could remain inside the human body for years, silently damaging bones and organs. Public opinion began to change. Newspapers across America followed the case. People demanded answers. Under growing pressure, the companies finally agreed to financial settlements with several of the women. More importantly, the case changed the future of workplace safety. New rules were introduced to protect workers from dangerous materials for thousands of people who would work in laboratories and factories in the years ahead. The courage of the Radium Girls would save countless lives. The Radium Girls never set out to change history. They simply wanted honest work. They trusted their employer. They believed the people who told them the glowing paint was safe. That trust cost many of them their health, and for some, their lives. Yet their fight changed far more than they could have imagined. Their case forced companies to take responsibility for the safety of their workers. It helped create stronger protections in factories, laboratories, and other dangerous workplaces across the United States. Today, millions of people go to work expecting protective equipment, safety rules, and honest warnings about hazardous materials. Those protections did not appear by accident. They were built through the courage of people who refused to stay silent. More than a century later, the story of the Radium Girls is remembered not only as a tragedy, but as a turning point that helped protect generations to come. Today, very few of the original Radium Girls are still remembered by name, yet their story continues to live on. Every warning label placed on a dangerous chemical, every pair of protective gloves handed to a worker, every safety rule designed to prevent invisible dangers exists because people before us paid a terrible price. The Radium Girls believed they were painting tiny watch dials. Instead, they unknowingly helped rewrite the rules of workplace safety forever. Their courage exposed a truth that powerful companies tried to hide. Their voices changed laws. Their sacrifice protected millions of workers they would never meet. History often remembers kings, generals, and famous leaders. But sometimes, the people who change the world are ordinary workers who simply refuse to give up. And that is why, more than 100 years later, the Radium Girls are still impossible to forget.